people say these days. Listen, I am sure that you want to hear what my plan was. But before I do that, I have to ask you a question. Does the name George Washington mean anything to you? Yeah. Well, that's me. Father of our country, first president, general of the American Army. They're all my titles. I know it is a lot, but I'm a cunning man, so I can handle it. Now, I know you want to hear my battle plan, but you cannot tell the British or the Hessians, because those nasty soldiers will steal my idea. So listen closely, and I shall tell you of a daring battle called the Battle of Trenton, but known as crossing the Delaware. It was a cold, wet, and dark Christmas night in the year of 1776. 2,400 of my men and me crossed Delaware River in boats. It was so cold that there were massive chunks of ice that my soldiers had to break apart. For some weird reason, the British actually thought that in war, you were supposed to march the opposite army, shoot, retreat, reload your musket, bayonet, or let's just say weapon, and repeat that over and over. Also, we weren't supposed to attack during the night, but us Americans decided to break the rules of war because battles should be unexpected and unplanned. Anyway, once we got to Trenton, New Jersey, on the other side of the river, we had to march through rain, sleet, and a snowstorm. I was wet, shivering, and miserable, and the men were discouraged. I reminded them that the element of surprise was a huge advantage, and I was right. It was worth it. Should have seen those shocked and astonished British and Hessians. I bet they thought no one had the nerve to attack them. Someone did, though. You guessed it, me. I led the Americans to their first substantial victory over the British. It brought hope and encouragement to the troops and patriots. I think that we can agree that without me, the loyal, strong, and courageous George Washington, America would have been doomed. You guys know that if I had not thought of sneak attacks and trickery, we would probably still be part of England, even though it was on the other side of the ocean, and ruled by some silly king. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask all of you parents something. Do you know why you're all able to buy your morning coffee that I see you're drinking? Well, it's because of me. I'm on the $1 bill. I know. You all wish you're on money. Breaks my heart to leave. I almost never get to meet people from about 1,000,000 generations after me. I really should be off now. John Adams should have some time to speak as well. He always comes right after me. So let history his off for you, and long live the Patriots!
Seriously, why is the Continental Congress not listening to me? Don't they know what's going on? Sorry, I'm a bit frustrated right now. I'm John Adams, and I just came back from trying to convince the Continental Congress to write the Declaration of Independence. In June of 1775, I went to Philadelphia for the first Continental Congress representing the great state of Massachusetts. We discussed the fighting, unfair laws, and unrest all around the 13 colonies. I said we should be set free from Britain because King George was being an unfair and horrible leader. But not everybody agreed. Some people, I'm not sure what they were thinking, thought that we should stay with Britain because they were scared for change, a war, and possibly death. Wimps. Lucky for you, I was there, otherwise we'd still be under Britain's control. The whole room debated for hours. I wish they would just stop and listen up. Finally, it was a miracle. They all started to pay attention as I told them what was going on, what people were suffering, and that we need to stop it. Otherwise it would get out of hand, and this could cause a lot of problems. They finally seemed ready to write the Declaration of Independence. Then the next problem, who would write it? I asked Thomas Jefferson, since he could write 10 times faster than me and a lot of other people I know. He happily accepted. We were ready to hold a revolution and ready to be an independent nation. I was important to the American Revolution because without me, those who are not in favor of breaking free from Britain may have decided our fate as a nation. We probably wouldn't have this wonderful nation today. Well, I'm off to return home to my dear Abigail. Good day.
Miss Phyllis Wheatley. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. Hi, I'm Phyllis Wheatley. I'm a famous slave poet. I'm also one of the few people who got invitations to meet King George and George Washington. Impressive, right? Now let me tell you how I got a letter from George Washington. Although I was a slave, I grew up with really nice owners in Boston, Massachusetts. My owner, Susanna Wheatley, taught me how to read and write. This was very rare for slaves at this time, but she saw potential in me from the way I spoke and acted. As I grew up, I began to write poetry. I wrote to George Washington about the war, including a poem, which I'm really good at. The poem was called To His Excellency General Washington. I wrote the letter right after one of my other poems was published in the newspaper. On February 28, 1776, George Washington replied to me as Miss and asked me to meet him. That definitely was a first. He must have really liked the poem, not surprising since it was all about him. I was surprised that the leader of our country took time out of his day to write to me. I felt appreciated that someone respected me. As a slave, I'm not used to be treated this way. He was sending it to me from the headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts. About a month later, the poem I sent to George Washington was published in the Pennsylvania Magazine. Overall, writing poetry was how I met one of the founding fathers of America. Long live American independence. Well, I'm off to write another poem.
Is this Lexington? Oh, never mind. The British are coming. The British are coming. Hi, I am Paul Revere, a proud member of the Sons of Liberty, a secret protest group against King George's taxes. And right now, I'm in the middle of what will soon be known as Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. This is one of my last stops, so I can quickly tell you a story about what I am doing and some other difficulties I have come across. As I already told you, I'm a member of the Sons of Liberty. But did you know that I was one of the leaders of the Boston Tea Party? Well, I was. A few years after we dumped King George's tea into the Boston harbor, I got a warning that the British were coming to seize weapons in Lexington and Concord. I was tasked with alerting colonists living in those cities that the Redcoats were about to hit. First, I set up a plan that someone from the Sons of Liberty would put up lanterns in the Old Norwich Church as a signal to me. 1, if the British were coming by land, and 2, if the lobsterbacks were coming by sea. Suddenly, I saw 2 lanterns, and I was off. I had an agreement with a fellow patriot, William Dawes, that we would ride our separate ways, so that if one of us got captured, the other could keep on going. On my way to Lexington and Concord, I warned John Hancock and Samuel Adams that the British were on their way. Galloping furiously, I flew by British officers on my horse, Brown Beauty. I was so relieved that those lazy redcoats did not see me. However, the second time it happened, I was not so lucky. I was surrounded by about 12 British officers and could not get away. Instead of taking me to jail, they took Brown Beauty from me. I miss you already! Now I have to walk all the way back to Lexington. I wonder how many steps I would get on one of those fancy futuristic step counting gadgets. Fitbits! Oh, yeah, I mean Fitbits! My important midnight ride is helping to warn fellow patriots that the British are planning a sneak attack. They may even write a poem about me one day. Hopefully it gets all the facts right. Oh my, I've lost track of the time. Very well, it is time for me to go so I can continue to warn the others that the British are coming.
Hi, have you seen any British around? Yeah. Well then, I'll make this quick. Want to know why I hate them so much? Because they shot me in the neck and the leg. Hi, I'm Deborah Sampson. I was the one that pretended to be a man in the Revolutionary War. You might know me as Bobby, Robert Sherlock. As a balloon boy, ring a bell? Yeah, I didn't think so. I was in the military for 1.5 years before getting caught. Let me tell you my story. My childhood was rough, and I bounced around a lot. When I was 18, I joined the Army. Since only men were allowed in the military, I had to completely disguise myself, but that was no problem. Since I knew how to weave, I wove my own uniform. A couple weeks later, I signed up for the military under the name of Robert Sherlock. On one adventure to take back stolen supplies, I was shot in the neck and the leg. At first, I didn't realize it, and then I felt my neck because something was trickling down it, and it was all bloody. Then I got shot in the leg.
I couldn't tell anyone about the shot in my leg because the doctor was a man. I couldn't live with a bullet stuck in my leg for the rest of my life. I didn't know what to do. Now I had 2 secrets to keep. Dr. Benny took the bullet out of my neck, and he didn't find about the bullet in my leg. My plan was going perfectly. After the doctor took the bullet out of my neck, I had him sleep so I could rest. Little did he know while he was gone, I was going to take the bullet out of my leg. It took me 3 whole tries to take the bullet out with a pocket knife. Finally, I got it out, and there was so much blood, I fainted. After I woke up, my leg was all bandaged up. But how did he find out? Then, a couple weeks later, Dr. Benny asked me to deliver a very important message to General Patterson. I was scared what the letter said, so as soon as I gave it to General Patterson, I ran out of his tent. A few minutes later, one of the General's personal messengers came to look for me. Finally, when he found me, I went back to the General's tent. He was first speechless. He asked me, "Is it true? Are you a real woman?" I answered yes. There was an awkward silence, a long, awkward silence. I was so scared to tell him the truth, but I did. He was so surprised. He asked me all these questions about how I stayed disguised for so long. Then, a couple weeks later, I was forced to step down from the military on October 25th, 1783. I was important to the Revolutionary War because I showed girls and women they can be and do whatever they want. I will always remember my adventures in the military. If you have to ask me any more questions because I'm so interesting, you can call me on one of those square phone things you all have these days. Well, good day.
Shh, I'm a spy. Although I belong to the schoolmaster, that's just my cover. Hello, Professor Nathan here, and I spy for Washington. Let me tell you my story. I started out as a teacher before my days as a spy. At the time, I even taught an extra class of girls early in the morning, and I would frequently argue in favor of girls' education. But after the war broke out in Lexington and Concord, I knew I needed to help fight for freedom. So I joined the Army. And when the perfect opportunity came up, I jumped at the chance to serve General Washington as a spy. I went on a boat ride to Long Island shore, crossing enemy lines, undercover as a Dutch schoolmaster. And I hoped to learn any secret plans the British were going to carry out, but it wasn't much help. I saw they were headed somewhere, but I just wasn't sure where. They ultimately headed to New York City, which attacked and conquered soon after New York burnt down in the Great Fire of New York of 1776, which the British thought was caused by Washington's soldiers. They became extremely suspicious of everybody. While carrying out one of my missions, the lobsterbacks, or redcoats, or British soldiers, whatever you want to call them, questioned me. While researching me, they found secret notes hidden in my shell. My fate was sealed. I was sentenced to my death by hanging on September 22nd, 1776, in an apple orchard. I am proud that I was able to serve my country the best way I knew how, and I wouldn't change a thing. I was so passionate about the cause that my last words were, "I only regret, but I have one life to lose for my country." Good day, old fellows.
Hello, fellow patriots. You all may know me as Abigail Adams, but do you know my proudest moment? Well, that was telling John Adams to remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. Let me tell you my story. I was born in Weymouth, Massachusetts on October 11, 1744. Enough of my backstory. That would take too long. Let's cut to the exciting part. When I was just 20 years old, I married John Adams. Since John was away most of the time, he and I often wrote letters to each other. We missed each other dearly, so I had wrote over 3,000 letters to him. Quite crazy, right? We didn't have that fancy email thing. These were all handwritten, ink and quill. Unfortunately, only 1,500 are still intact today. Every letter I wrote had taken about 2 to 3 weeks to send because they were sent by horseback. Waiting for that period of time was quite boring and exhausting. I mean, how would you feel if you could only talk to someone around once or twice a month? There was no FaceTime or texting. I had always been a hard-working wife, but it was a very unpleasant sensation knowing that I and many other women could not keep their payment because they had to give it to their husbands. I had always believed in women's rights, so I had finally wrote a letter to John stating that I wanted women to be able to keep their salary. This letter is now very famous and is called Remember the Ladies. It was a letter I sent to John Adams in 1776. I wrote that I and many other women were very tired of work very hard and not getting a reward. I hope that as a member of the Second Continental Congress, he could fight for the rights of women and make a difference. They were shaping the country. This was their chance to improve the status of women. Sadly, John only laughed at my wish. When John had laughed, he made me feel quite frustrated. But in Remember the Ladies, I was most definitely not asking for the privilege to vote, but I just wanted fairer laws. Not only did I write Remember the Ladies, but did I mention that I was also the second First Lady? Since we're on the topic, my oldest son, John Quincy Adams, was also president. How about that family trait? Even though my letter was not successful, at least now I know that because of me and my letters, people now know how women worked and lived during the time of the Revolution. God bless America. Thank you.
Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Oh, sorry. Forgive me. I didn't see you sitting there. I am just so excited that I finished the most important document of my life. This document is called the Declaration of Independence that I wrote myself. My name is Thomas Jefferson, if you didn't know. And yes, I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, wow, is it really you? Even though people think I'm perfect, I'm not. But before I begin, I would like to warn you that some people in the past told me I'm a bad public speaker. To me, what I think they're saying is fake news. Now listen up while I tell you my story. On the day, June 1776, I was given the honor to be chosen to write the Declaration of Independence by my good friend John Adams. I had the choice to write it, but I couldn't say no because if I did, I would be humiliated. It took me 3.5 weeks to write it. The reason it took so long is that I wanted to put my heartfelt words into it. After a brutal war, I wanted this document to mean something as so many people lost their lives. In 1776, I rented a little room around the outside of Philadelphia where I sat at my desk and started to write. To me, in the beginning, I was thinking it was going to take all year. But to my surprise, it only took 3 weeks, not that long to me. After I finished writing the Declaration of Independence, I was very tired, but excited and nervous at the same time to see what they would say about this document. Overall, I was very happy with the results. The one thing I was very sad about is I neglected to keep my feelings on slavery in the final draft. I do myself own slaves, yes, I do admit that. But I do think slavery is unfair. Everyone should be treated equally. Because of this document, you all can live and be free. Me, not John Hancock, not anybody else. Me. You all might think Hancock is so important because he signed his name the first one and the biggest one. But remember, I'm the one who wrote it, not him. Just remember, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America. And do me a favor, when John Hancock comes, yawn for me.
The pilgrims sailed the sea to find a place to call their own.
or give me death. Do you know who said that? I did. I'm Patrick Henry. Would you like to hear about my life? Yes. I thought so. I was born May 29, 1736, in the colony of Virginia. I was a family shoemaker, and I was colonel of the 1st Virginian Regiment. But then one day I wanted to be a lawyer. I knew I had to at least try to achieve this dream. I worked hard and became a lawyer, and I worked to fight the Stamp Act. I then became a bold speaker for the House of Burgesses. I met with a bunch of other leaders of Virginia, deciding what to do about the situation with peaceful actions weren't working with. We needed something stronger. At the Second Virginia Convention in February 1775, I urged people to prepare for war. At first, nobody agreed. I felt embarrassed and nervous. But the cause was so important, I knew I had to speak up for what I believe in. I believe in America. I knew we could all have independence. They all just needed motivation. Then I said my most famous speech. There is no longer room for hope. If we wish to be free, we must fight. But as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Now I feel powerful and confident. If I Instagram it, I've got a ton of likes. Later on, while I was helping General George Washington train soldiers, I felt bittersweet. I mean, I was grateful we had soldiers, but we did not have enough. Then I marched into Thomas Jefferson's office and demanded him to get more militiamen so we could win the war. As a result, we won the war because of my help training soldiers and getting more militiamen. Overall, I had a bold life with bold speeches, and my words will inspire people till the end of my life and more. Long live American independence!
Fellow patriots, my name is, all of you know who I am, right? Well, of course you do. I'm the most important man in history, John Hancock. I was the first to sign the Declaration of Independence, but I'm mostly known for the size. Anyway, listen up as I tell my story. I grew up in Boston with my Uncle Thomas in our 54-window house. I loved my childhood. It was great. Anyway, you probably know me for my signature, not my childhood, so let's get to that story. In the year 1767, before the Revolution, I was surrounded by taxes. As a businessman, these taxes were a problem. King George was taking my money. I was furious, and I wasn't afraid to show it. I became very popular with those wanting freedom, so like everyone in town. In April 1768, I complained to King George, but that just put me on the dangerous Americans list. Thanks a lot, King George.
You're welcome.
After several notes to Britain, protests, massacres, more taxes, etc., the Americans decided to take action. I was a representative to the Second Continental Congress, a group of patriots that were not afraid to fight for freedom. Because people thought I was a strong leader, and since I was known for not being afraid of the king, I was elected president of the Second Continental Congress. We decided to declare independence. As president of the Congress, I couldn't possibly actually be bothered to write it, so Thomas Jefferson took 3 weeks to write the Declaration of Independence. If I was writing the Declaration of Independence, it would only take 2 weeks. And I signed it. Yes, that's correct. On July 2nd, 1776, I sat at a table, pulled back my lace cuffs, and dipped my quill in ink and happily signed. I was proud and excited to sign this, so I wrote my name in large and big. There, I guess King George will be able to read that. Thanks to me, the other delegates didn't have much room to sign it. Oh well, goodbye friends. I'm off to make more history. This is the part where you clap. Thank me. Meet me in the hallway after if you want my John Hancock on your program.
writing my latest play. If you haven't already figured it out, I'm Mercy Otis. My full name is Mercy Otis Warren, and I'm a famous revolutionary playwright. Now I want to tell you a story, so listen up, because I am known for telling good stories. But I'll only tell it once, because I need to get back to my play. Many patriots were starting to join together in Boston, such as the Sons of Liberty. In 1773, patriots met at my house in West Barnstable in Plymouth to plan a Continental Congress to unite the colonists. Since it was my house, I became involved in the conversation. Around 1773, my brother Jemmy was beaten up by some very cruel loyalists because he wrote plays that made them mad. His body healed, but his mind did not. Later, he was declared insane. I felt scared and sad, but I also saw an opportunity. That opportunity was that I could take over his plays. So that's what I did. I felt excited but scared that the British would catch me. I made fun of the British and loyalists in my plays. I made patriots heroes and loyalist villains with names like Rapatio, Simple Sapling, Krusty Crowbar, Hector Mushroom, and Humnumbug. My plays appeared in the Boston newspapers. I felt excited and happy because my plays would finally be seen and laughed at and enjoyed, but scared that they might find out that I was the one writing them. I was scared I would get beaten up like Jemmy. The British reacted violently to his plays because it made them offended and mad. I also wrote a book during the Revolutionary War, documenting everything that happened around me. This is known as a primary source for all of you paying attention in social studies. Even though 3 of my 5 sons died during the war, I still kept going. My plays have made history about the Revolutionary War, so people will remember it, especially the ones I made fun of. Well, goodbye. I need to go finish my play. Long live American independence!
Good morning, I am Benjamin Franklin. In 1783, I invented bifocal glasses. And, well, I guess I also helped negotiate the Treaty of Paris, but that's usually the last thing I'm known for. People mostly recognize my famous inventions, but I am most proud of my contribution during the Revolutionary War. Do you guys want to know what really happened in Paris? Yeah. Yes. Well, if you want to be a smarty pants like me, you better listen up. Before I went to Paris, I was a very respected inventor back in the colonies. Some of my accomplishments included the Postal Service, the Franklin stove, and convincing Pennsylvania to pave the roads. Yes, that was me. After the British implemented the Stamp Act, I thought I would use my charming wit to reason with them, but they did not listen. My involvement in politics did not go unnoticed, as I was elected to represent Pennsylvania in the Second Continental Congress. There, I helped edit the Declaration of Independence, one of the most important documents in history. Ever hear of it? Yes. Some years later, I was sent to Paris to get France's help for the war, since we were losing, as devastating as it was to admit. I stayed in France for 8 years to maintain their support. While I was there meeting with French officials and negotiating a treaty with France to support America, I also invented bifocal glasses. In France, I was regarded as a hero, and I still am. The ladies even wore lightning rod hats to honor me. Oh yeah, that's another one of my inventions, the lightning rod. I have so many that I can't keep track. After we victoriously won the Revolutionary War, I helped negotiate the Treaty of Paris. It declared peace between Great Britain and the United States of America and officially ended the war. This was one of the most victorious moments of my life. If I had not helped negotiate the Treaty of Paris, we might not be an independent country today. Well then, I'm off to edit the Constitution. Au revoir.
Hi, I'm Molly Pitcher, but you can call me Mary Lou Case. I'm known for helping the soldiers during the Revolutionary War. Wait.
I can't read this spring speech anymore. Let me break it down for you. I married Hayes, but the men call me Molly. I was married to William Hayes, and we both joined the army in 1968. It was the Battle of Mum. It was 96 degrees, and there wasn't any breeze, and there was no one left to shoot the cannons about me. I saw a pitcher filled with water, and towards it began to run. It was odd. I wasn't shot by a gun, and I had to do something. Now just look at the men swirling on the ground. So I grabbed a cannonball and it bent into the ground with the big clouds. I who said, "One began to shoot a cannon." Was it you or you? Well, I just did. So what you gonna do? Next thing you know, we're in the war. Everybody's saying, "Do more, do more." I think you know how the Revolutionary War. Now, so have a good day and peace out.
Hi, my name is Samuel Adams. You may or may not know me from my LMA in Revere. But I am best known for forming the Sons of Liberty in the 1760s. While everyone was waiting around, I did something. I started thinking of things to get back at Britain. So let me tell you my story. Things started getting bad. I mean, really bad. The French and Indian War was happening, and Britain placed the Sugar Act and the Stamp Act. Seriously, what's wrong with the king? That got me thinking. The Patriots and I were getting madder than ever before. We didn't get representation, and he's treating us like we don't even matter. So a group of fellow patriots and I formed the Sons of Liberty, a group dedicated to doing something about Britain. We were leaders for the Patriots' cause in Boston. We decided to hang a straw dummy of the town's tax collector and throw boots and rocks at the dummy to show our hatred for their taxes. And we finally spoke up. We wrote angry letters, but nothing happened. After a little talking, the Sons of Liberty and I really wanted to start fighting against Britain. When the Stamp Act was repealed, we finally started feeling we were getting somewhere. Even though independence was still many years away, the Sons of Liberty and I brought us one step closer to freedom. And we continued to fight all the way through the Revolution. Because of me and my friends, we have our independence today. Even though it was risky, I'm glad we did something about it. Long live American independence!
My dear America, now you all may wonder who I am. Am I America's firstborn sculptor? Am I a revolutionary spy? Or could I quite possibly handle being both at the exact same time? I am Patience Lavelle Wright. I found my true passion in sculpting and later on used my masterpieces to send messages of British plans to the colonies. Now here is my story. I was born not far from here in Oyster Bay, New York in 1725 to a Quaker family. I was lucky because Quakers believed that women and men should be treated equally. That meant that I went to school and learned to read and write just like my brother. Not many girls had that opportunity. I married an older man, and when he died, he left me and our children with no money. I had to be resourceful, and I ended up moving to Philadelphia to work in the wax sculpting business with my sister, Rachel. Not to brag, but I'm quite talented. Sculpting is my medium. We had a wonderful reputation, but work was not always easy to find. After meeting Jane Meckham, a lovely woman, and Benjamin Franklin's favorite sister, we were persuaded by our dear friend to expand our sculpting business to England. In fact, Jane said that her brother could introduce me to some important people, like King George, who I call the Pharaoh. Everyone enjoyed my company, and since sculpting bus took some time, the English royalty and Parliament members would talk and talk and talk. What they might not have realized is that they were spilling their Revolutionary War secrets to me. What was I to do with this information? I mean, they all really liked me in England, but I'm a patriot through and through. I wrote these secrets down and carefully placed them in a hollow bus that I sent to England, that I sent to the colonies for my sister Rachel to sell. Rachel shared my information with American leaders throughout the war. I think that the British might have caught on to me at some point, because because not all of my information was correct. But no matter what, I continued to do my part. I also helped free and shelter Americans escaping London. Towards the end of the war, I wasn't exactly England's favorite visitor. So I headed to France, where my good friend Ben Franklin was the ambassador. I also taught the French a thing or two about wax sculpting. After the Treaty of Paris was signed, ending the Revolutionary War, I was sent a letter from George Washington, the future first president of America. He said that he would be honored if I made him his own wax bust. That's kind of a big deal, but unfortunately I died before I got the chance. However, my son Joseph painted George Washington's portrait and designed the first American coin. So you see, my dear America, I am a sculptor, a spy, and a true patriot. Now excuse me, my friends. I'm off to bust out more busts.
Oh, hello everyone. I am Betsy Ross. Are you here for me? Because if you are, please excuse me if I'm being rushed. The British soldiers I have to allow to stay in my house are coming back here for dinner. So I have to be quick. You might know me as the woman who stitched the first flag, but you don't know the whole story. One June day, I heard a loud knock on the door of my upholstery shop, Ross Upholstery, in Arch Street on Pennsylvania. When I opened the door, I was surprised to see Colonel George Ross, Robert Morris, and the one and only George Washington. I closed my shop and led them into the parlor, which is the best room in the house. The men told me that they were a part of a secret flag committee, and they wanted a flag made. They wanted me to make a flag? Don't they know how much I'm going through right now? But if I didn't do it, then Colonel George Ross and his men could not trust me. So I agreed to try. The men showed me the design. It was very square. It had 6 white stripes and 7 red stripes. And there's a field blue in a canton with 13 6-pointed stars in a circle. At once I knew that the shape was too square. It should be rectangular so that it could float in the wind on a boat. And that the star should be 5-pointed. Even though the men said it was harder, it was so much easier. They agreed to my changes, and they gave me the money to sew the flag. During the Revolution, I secretly sewed the first flag of the USA. I was very worried because I did not want to get caught. And even though my room was upstairs from my shop, I still kept the curtains tightly closed. So no one would know what I was up to, because you can never trust anyone. When I was done, it was flown high on a sailor's boat. The public approved, and it was presented in Congress on the day before me and my second husband got married. Congress passed this resolution on June 14, 1777. Resolved that the flag of the United States be 13 alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Can you imagine me, a seamstress from Pennsylvania, and my very own congressional resolution? I couldn't believe that my flag was chosen. I knew that everyone would want one, so I made more while taking care of 7 children. Anyways, thanks to me, you all have the most amazing flag in history. And when you go to a 4th of July party, think about me, because I made the design for all the flags there. I'm the reason why you're wearing your red, white, and blue snazzy outfits. And Old Navy owes me a lot of money in commission because they sell all those flag shirts. If you want one, I have this business card. Call me on those new box-shaped screen phone things. Thank you.
Good morning. Patriots. Sorry,
out my general surrendered to you scoundrels, the revolution. Hello. My name is King George. I'm also the guy whose country lost the Revolutionary War, unfortunately. I cannot believe that fool General Cornwallis surrendered. That's why all of you won. He surrendered. Let me tell you that story. Those Americans are doing everything they can to get that independence they want. Even some document called the Declaration of Independence passed. It was written by a man named Thomas Jefferson. He even dared to write that I, King George, am a tyrant who is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Hope he had fun writing that. He'll see how fun it is when my armies get sent after him. Anyway, they're doing everything they can to gain independence. They even started a war with me. Let me tell you about the last battle, the Battle of Yorktown. It was a dark and stormy night. Actually, I don't know if it was because I was sitting in a chair in my palace. It just sounds more suspenseful when you say it that way. Anyway, it was October 9th, 1781. The 10 days of British battering, quite unfortunate, led by George Washington, the commander, started. General Cornwallis, on my side, obviously, was battered with 35,000 shells for 10 days straight. Finally, I guess, couldn't take it anymore. He sent his second-in-command to deliver a message to George Washington. His message, I surrender, was furious. Who gives up that easily? What a wimp. There's a reason certain people aren't king. Finally, after many long, hard nights, I had a scheme. I would try to keep the colonists harassed, poor, and anxious. Unfortunately, Parliament rejected my plan, regarding it as too expensive. I was livid, regarding that I had made Parliament to help me, not betray me. If only there was room in the Tower of London for the whole Parliament. After a while, I decided that I didn't want the colonies anyway. See what a good king I am? Let's let them think they won. That is why that I am happy that I exist. If I didn't, the Americans would have had a much easier victory. Of course, they still won. But whatever. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the better George. Long live the king!